My best friend falsely testified against me so he could steal family from me. It's now 10 years later, and I just found out she's laying hands on my daughter. I'm going nuclear. 10 years ago, my life burned to the ground in a courtroom I never should have stepped into. And the person holding the match was my best friend. Let's call her Heather. Heather and I were inseparable for nearly 15 years. We met in college, same dorm, same major, same dark sense of humor. She was the maid of honor at my wedding, the one who held my hair back when I was sick in the first trimester with my daughter, Mia. She was Aunt Heather to my baby. I trusted her more than I trusted my own blood. That trust got me destroyed. It started with rumors, little ones. Whispers that I was drinking too much, that I was unstable, that I screamed at Mia in the supermarket. Never happened. Then came the allegations. My ex-husband, Thomas, filed for full custody with Heather's sworn affidavit stapled right to the top. She claimed she witnessed me strike Mia. Said she begged me to get help. Said she feared for the child's safety. None of it was true. Not one word. But she testified under oath. Looked the judge in the eye and wept crocodile tears. And that was it. I was labeled unstable, unfit, and unsafe. My visitation was stripped down to supervised visits at a gray office with a child psychologist present. My daughter went from falling asleep in my arms every night to hugging my knees under fluorescent lights once a week. My marriage collapsed like a dying star. My reputation tanked. CPS put me on their watch list. Friends vanished. Families stopped returning calls. I spiraled hard. Depression, panic attacks, isolation. The only person who ever checked in after all that? Heather. She checked in. Heather would call me, bring me tea, act like she was still my friend. I just want to help you get better, she'd say. This isn't your fault. She gaslit me for years, made me think I was crazy for being angry, like I'd done this to myself. I hated her, but I was too broken to fight her. Eventually, I rebuilt. Slowly, I got a therapist. Fought for partial custody again and got it after a mountain of evaluations and court-mandated parenting classes, none of which I ever needed. Mia and I found our rhythm weekends, holidays, FaceTimes every night. But Heather stayed around, still playing friend, still in the picture. Until 3 days ago. Mia's 15 now. Smart, funny, with this sarcastic edge that reminds me of myself before I lost everything. She came to me last weekend quieter than usual. We were at the park when she said, "Mom, can I ask something weird?" I said, "Sure." Do adults ever pretend to be nice when they're actually kind of scary? I froze. She told me Heather had started showing up at Dad's house more often. Bringing food. Offering to take her to school, to the mall. Playing cool aunt again. But it got weird. Touchy. Heather would grab her by the wrist when she didn't listen. One time she jokingly slapped her arm for backtalking. Mia said she laughed it off but felt scared. Then she got quiet again and added, "She said I shouldn't tell you because you'd overreact. That you used to hit me too." I thought I might black out. I never laid a hand on my daughter. And Heather knew that. And now she was planting those seeds in Mia's head again. It was happening all over again, just sideways this time. Not through a courtroom. Through whispers. Through gaslighting. Through a warped, twisted invasion of the little piece of life I'd fought like hell to get back. I couldn't breathe. I told Mia thank you for telling me that she did the right thing. I hugged her so tight she squeaked. Then I drove home and vomited in my sink. And that night, I checked the front door camera at Thomas's place. He still uses the same login from when we were married, and I still get security alerts. I don't think he ever realized. I clicked through the cloud history, watched the last few days, and there she was. Heather, coming in and out like she owned the place. One clip stood out. Mia was walking ahead of her toward the car. Heather said something I couldn't hear. Mia shook her head. And Heather snatched her by the elbow, fast, sharp. Not playful. Not clumsy. Controlled. Angry. Mia flinched. Pulled away. Heather didn't chase her. just adjusted her purse like nothing happened. I stared at that clip until my fingers went numb. That was it. I was done pretending. Done healing. Done forgiving. Heather took my life once. She doesn't get to touch my daughter too. She's not ready for what comes next. I didn't sleep that night. I watched the footage of Heather grabbing Mia over and over until I felt the walls closing in. The same hand that signed my destruction was now on my daughter. That wasn't just betrayal, it was war. I messaged Thomas the next morning, asked if I could stop by under the pretense of dropping off Mia's sketchbooks she'd left behind. I didn't mention Heather. I didn't trust what he'd do if he knew. Thomas had always been passive, easily manipulated, easily guilt. And Heather had been his emotional support during the custody hearings. I used to think she was just a parasite. Now I know better. He let me in that afternoon. Mia was at school. I brought the sketchbooks, left them on the counter, made polite conversation until he left to take a call upstairs. I didn't have much time. I walked straight to the kitchen, Heather's poison lair. I opened the cabinet above the coffee maker. Boom. There it was. Her stupid lavender travel mug. The same one she used when we lived together freshman year. I pulled it down, turned it over. Her initials, still carved underneath with a nail file. I looked around. She'd left her mark all over the damn house. Bamboo diffuser, floral notepad on the fridge, half a bag of her favorite overpriced granola in the pantry. She wasn't just visiting. She was living here. Again. With my daughter. My fists clenched so tight I saw white. When Thomas came back down, I asked flat out, "Is Heather staying here?" He blinked like a deer in headlights. Then lied, "No, she just drops by to help with Mia sometimes. She's been helpful." Helpful? Did you know she grabbed Mia last week? I asked. Calm, even. Like I was asking about the weather. He went pale. What? I told him everything, what Mia said, the footage, the patterns. How Heather had wormed her way back in like a fungus. How she was gaslighting our daughter, laying the same traps she did to me a decade ago. He stammered. But she said you were getting unstable again, that Mia was pulling away from you, acting anxious. My vision blurred. My ears rang. Unstable. The same script. She was doing it again. Step by step. Word for word. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "You let her back in. You let her back in after everything she did. And now she's touching our child." Thomas looked down. No excuses. No apology. I walked out. When I got home, I called Mia's school and asked to speak to the guidance counselor. Scheduled a meeting for the next day. I wanted documentation. I wanted proof. If Heather was twisting things again, I needed to be ahead of her this time. I wasn't the broken woman she railroaded 10 years ago. I was a mother with nothing left to lose. That night, I sat Mia down and gently asked her to tell me again what had happened with Heather. She told me the same story, only this time she added something else. She said Dad wouldn't believe me if I told. She said you used to hurt her too. That's why you got in trouble. I think my heart actually stopped. She said what? Mia shrugged. I know it's not true, Mom. She scares me. That was the moment I snapped. Not in the yelling, screaming way. No. Something inside me just shifted. This wasn't about anger anymore. It was about protection. Survival. My daughter was in danger, and the woman who tried to erase me was back with a new angle. So I did something I swore I'd never do again. I opened the file I'd kept buried in a Dropbox folder since 2016. All the old court documents, the evaluations, the CPS interviews. The recording of Heather telling me, drunk and stupid on my couch a year after the trial, I only said that stuff so Thomas would listen to me. He never took me seriously. I didn't think it would go that far. I still remember her laugh. I uploaded that clip to a flash drive. Labeled it insurance. Then I called a lawyer. Hi, I said. I need to reopen a custody agreement. And I have new evidence of abuse. There was silence on the other end, then the sound of a pen scratching against paper. I also want to press charges for perjury and endangerment. That night, I called Heather. I wanted her to know I knew. She picked up on the third ring. Hey, girl. Don't you, girl, me. Silence. I know what you've been doing, I said. To me. To Mia. To Thomas. I have footage. I have recordings. And I'm going to burn your entire house of cards to the ground. She tried to laugh it off. I think you're overreacting, babe. You won't see Mia again. You won't be near her. I'm done playing nice. Then I hung up and sat there shaking, phone clutched like a weapon. Because the war had started. And this time, I was ready to win. I thought confronting Heather would bring some kind of twisted relief. Instead, it was like pulling the pin on a grenade. The very next day, Thomas texted me a wall of messages. Heather had just wanted to talk, but now she was afraid for her safety and thinking about filing a restraining order against me. She claimed I'd threatened her life, that I was having another episode, and that Mia didn't feel safe around me. The same script, word for word. Only this time, I had the receipts. I didn't respond. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. But what gutted me most was what happened that weekend. Mia didn't show up for pickup. Thomas claimed she was sick. Wouldn't answer my calls. Wouldn't FaceTime. Nothing. Silence. That had never happened before. Not once. I drove over half delirious with worry. Banged on the door until Thomas finally opened it, face blank, Heather standing behind him like some phantom in the hallway. I want to see my daughter, I said, voice shaking. Heather stepped forward. She doesn't want to see you right now. You're scaring her. My hand clenched so tight around my keys I could feel the grooves in my palm. Mia peeked around the corner. Her eyes looked swollen. Her face was pale. Baby, come with me, I called out. Heather tried to step between us, but Mia came forward anyway. She was holding something, her sketchbook. She walked right up to me, and I swear on my soul, the first thing she whispered was, she read my journal. My stomach dropped. What? I bent down. She read it and told me I had to change parts of it. That it sounded too dramatic and manipulative. Like you were putting words in my mouth. I could barely breathe. Did she touch you again? Mia nodded, tiny. She grabbed my face when I didn't answer a question. Said I was acting just like my mother. That was it. I scooped her up like she was 5 years old again, turned to Thomas and said, You're done. You enabled this. You stood by again. He looked stunned, unsure if he should stop me. But he didn't. He just stepped aside. I took Mia home, and the next day, I filed for emergency custody. We had the hearing that Friday. My lawyer came armed to the teeth. Video footage, the recording from years ago, printed texts from Heather, even statements from Mia's guidance counselor confirming shifts in behavior, anxiety around visits, fear of the nice lady who talks bad about mom. But the twist? Heather showed up too. With her own lawyer. She wasn't just there for Thomas anymore. She had filed a motion that morning, petitioning for guardianship rights if Thomas was deemed unfit. That's when it all clicked. This wasn't just about revenge. Heather wasn't done playing mom. She wanted my daughter. Even now, writing this, my hands are shaking. She never wanted kids of her own, said they were too much. But Mia? Mia had always been her little project. Her second chance at living someone else's life better than they had. Only this time, she wanted it legally. The judge didn't entertain her motion for long, thank God. When the evidence was presented, Heather's past perjury, Mia's statement, the footage, his tone changed fast. He granted me temporary sole custody pending a full investigation. Thomas was ordered to attend parenting classes and therapy. Heather? Banned from contact. Permanently. Unless she wants to try again from a prison cell. After the ruling, she had the audacity to glare at me in the hallway, like I had betrayed her. You ruined your own life, Heather, I told her. And you don't get to ruin mine twice. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Just like the last time I saw her 10 years ago, right after she testified. The only difference now? I get to walk away with my daughter in my arms. For the first time in years, my house felt still. Not the tense kind of stillness that comes from watching your life fall apart, but the kind that comes when the noise finally stops. No lawyers on the phone. No Heather in the shadows. No more being afraid. But that silence? It doesn't mean peace. Not when your daughter wakes up in tears 3 nights in a row. The first one hit around 2 a.m. I found Mia sitting up in bed, her sketchbook clutched against her chest like armor. Her eyes were wild. She said you didn't love me. I froze. Who did? I asked, but I already knew. Heather. She didn't even say her name. Just she. She said I only come to your house because the courts make me, that I used to cry when I had to leave Dad's. I sat down next to her. My voice cracked. Did you believe her? She looked away. I think I tried to. I didn't ask why. I didn't have to. When someone lies to you long enough, especially someone who says they love you, the truth starts to sound like a fairy tale, and the lie becomes gravity. I held her hand. I told her the truth, again and again. That I fought for her. That I never gave up, even when the system believed Heather over me. That I never once stopped loving her. Then we both cried. The second night, she brought me the journal. Her real one. The one Heather hadn't seen. She'd hidden it under a loose floorboard in her closet at her dad's house, like some secret resistance fighter keeping proof of the war. I read every word. Pages about the way Heather would squeeze her arm just a little too hard during lessons. How she'd correct Mia's stories like she was editing a manuscript. That didn't happen like that, sweetie, or your mom probably didn't mean what she said. Gaslight by 1,000 cuts. But one line wrecked me. She told me I was lucky she stepped in, because without her, I'd probably be like Mom. It all made sense then. Heather hadn't just tried to steal Mia. She'd tried to erase me from her. For 10 years, I'd blamed myself. Every missed milestone, every distant conversation, every time Mia chose Thomas's house over mine. I thought it was me. My trauma. My paranoia. My own scars keeping us apart. But no. It was Heather. Always Heather. Twisting the knife and smiling while she did it. So I stopped blaming myself. And I started fighting again, not in court, but in life. For my daughter's trust. Her healing. Her truth. I enrolled Mia in therapy the following week. I told her it wasn't punishment, that it wasn't because she was broken. It was armor. It was clarity. And it was hers to use however she needed. She didn't say much. But the next morning, she asked me to go with her to the first session. Just to sit. Just to be there. God, I could have collapsed from the weight of that one question alone. The therapist, Dr. Mendez, was gentle, with a warmth that didn't feel fake. She asked questions slowly, let Mia talk on her own terms. By the second session, Mia brought the journal. By the third, she drew a picture. It was of a girl in a black hoodie walking away from a house with 2 shadows behind her. One had a long arm and red eyes. The other was crying. And in the front? A woman with open arms. I think that's you, Mia whispered, pushing it toward me. I couldn't speak. I just nodded. Dr. Mendez looked at me over Mia's shoulder and mouthed, she's processing. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I believed maybe, just maybe, we were going to be okay. But even healing comes with complications. Last week, Thomas called me. He sounded hollow. I could tell he'd lost weight. Said he was in therapy. That he'd cut off contact with Heather. That she'd been more involved than he realized, manipulating him, guilt-tripping him into trusting her over me. I didn't scream. I didn't hang up. I just asked him one question. Would you have believed me if Mia hadn't told you first? He didn't answer. I told him he could see Mia again, but only under supervised conditions. He agreed without protest. And I meant it not as revenge, but because Mia needs safety first. Always. As for Heather, she's disappeared from the city. Left town the same day the investigation wrapped. No charges filed, yet perjury statutes have limits, and Thomas was too spineless to press anything himself. But her name is dirt in every circle that matters. Her social media's gone. Her consulting business? Collapsed. And you know what? Good. Because the damage she did isn't just legal. It's emotional. It's cellular. She tried to redefine me in my daughter's eyes. She tried to wear my life like a costume, and when it didn't fit, she tore it up. But I'm rebuilding. Stronger this time. Wiser. And Mia? She's blooming. She laughs more. She draws again. And last night, she curled up beside me on the couch and said, "I feel safer here. No court order required. Just truth. Just love. Just me." 3 weeks after Heather vanished, Mia came to me holding her sketchpad like it was a contract. "Mom," she said, "I want to change my last name." I didn't speak at first. I couldn't. Because I thought she meant changing mine. Some kind of rebellion, some aftermath confusion. But then she clarified. "I want to change it from Dad's to yours." I dropped the dish I was holding. It shattered across the sink, but I barely flinched. My heart had just broken open in the best possible way. You want my last name?" She nodded. "It's the one that feels like mine now. I mean, it always kinda did. But now it really does." I cried. Of course I cried. She laughed and hugged me, and I cried harder. Because I never asked her to do that. Never planted the idea. She chose it on her own. After everything that woman tried to carve out of her, Mia was finally building herself back up with me. We started the paperwork that weekend. Thomas didn't fight it. He barely said anything, honestly. He signed the consent form with a look I couldn't read. Guilt, maybe. Regret. Or just a man realizing too late that he'd been a bystander in his own daughter's life. The name change was official 2 weeks later. Mia Grace Ellison. My name. My girl. That same weekend, I got a call from an old friend, Jessica. We hadn't spoken in almost 8 years. She was one of the few who'd stayed neutral after the trial, though I always assumed neutrality meant silent judgment. But now she was apologizing. After everything came out, I just wanted to say I'm sorry for believing her. She told all of us you were unraveling. I thought I was helping by stepping back. I appreciated the apology. I really did. But the part that chilled me? She said Heather had called her just months ago, still painting me as unstable, still spinning her little narratives. She said you were relapsing into paranoia, that she was worried for Mia's well-being. So even after all the damage, all the exposure, she'd kept going like a con artist who couldn't stop running the same tired scam, even when the whole crowd saw through the curtain. That's when I knew. Heather was never trying to replace me. She was trying to become me. Slowly, over years. By rewriting the story until even she believed it. But Mia didn't. And neither did I. So I kept moving forward. I got a new job, part-time at first, flexible hours, so I could be home more. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. I started painting again, just for me. And Mia, God, she bloomed. She started writing. Short stories, mostly, with characters who wore armor made of light and mothers who wielded swords of truth. When I read them, I cried. And one night, out of nowhere, she said, I think maybe Heather wanted me to feel like I needed her. Because she needed someone to need her. That kind of insight? At 15? She was healing. So was I. But healing is messy. It's not some tidy line where things get better each day. It's jagged. There were nights Mia still flinched in her sleep. Days I'd check the locks 3 times. Sometimes I still hear Heather's voice in my head, telling me I'm overreacting. But that voice gets quieter. And Mia's voice gets louder. One day, I caught her FaceTiming a friend and laughing so hard she snorted. The sound filled the whole house. She looked so alive. So herself. That night I asked, "What made you laugh like that?" She grinned. I was telling her the story about you burning the lasagna that one time and blaming it on the cat. I thought it was the cat. You left the oven on broil, Mom. I shook my head, laughing with her, heart full. That's what life looks like now. Laughter over dinner. Therapy journals with smiley face stickers. Backpacks left on the kitchen floor. A daughter who knows she is safe. She's not a pawn, not a project, not anyone's second chance. She's herself. And I'm her mom,